Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here from the Alpha Team, and this is earnings on the radar for the week of March 3rd. So we are wrapping up February and heading into March, and actually, it's still kind of like a busy little stretch ahead of us. This will be kind of like a packed few days for retail and software earnings, which you'll see. And things actually kind of get going this afternoon, so Monday after the close with a couple big names. So Zoom pricing in about $9. They just announced some layoffs. What, 3 weeks ago now, and so that headline's already out there. I mean, it's one of many names announcing layoffs. Um, so I mean, probably not going to get the bump because of layoffs, but people maybe are aware of it and have in the back of their mind because the last few quarters have not been super positive. But with those layoffs out there and some of the recent action in software, maybe the risk rewards skewed a bit more to the upside. Kind of like a washed out software name. Um, I don't like the option pricing, but it does seem like if the numbers are pretty solid, it could have more of a move higher. So this does feel like the risk reward still favors the upside, but the last few quarters have not been great. Workday pricing in about 13. Coming off a couple of solid quarters in a row, stock is up near its recent high, so in that sense, probably a bit tougher compared to some of its peers because of this recent strength. So you maybe could look at like ServiceNow, NOW, or Salesforce. Though the thing with Salesforce is they have earnings the following day, or no, 2 days later, so on Wednesday. So you're not going to get cheaper options because of earnings this week, but it probably will react to Workday. Same thing with NOW. Before the open on Tuesday, AAP, AutoZone. I mean, I don't really focus on these. I'm not going to be trading them, but you do have AAP and AutoZone tomorrow morning. O'Reilly doesn't report, so I mean, my guess is that's going to be moving around with those two. Target also earnings tomorrow morning. Pricing in about $14. I mean, it started to roll over a little bit, but still seems kind of like an interesting setup. I mean, this past week wasn't great for retail reports, um, but I mean, Target kind of has been doing its own thing. Last few quarters have not been great, and I mean, you can see that further I scroll out that when Target was trading up around 170s, 180 area, it was right underneath like that huge gap. I feel like it's still close enough where the gap could be in play if the numbers are really solid, but also, if they disappoint again, I mean, last quarter it dropped really quickly down to like the 150 area, so there could be some sizable downside as well. So I feel like it sets up for more of like a volatility strategy. After the close on Tuesday, AMC about $1. It's what's expected. It's not an earnings name for me, but I'll be keeping an eye on it post print. First Solar, pricing in about 12 and a half. Um, it could be interesting because it's really like the last solar stock standing, and they're probably gonna have to deliver to keep this upper base intact. It's really been holding the 50-day aggressively. Um, the problem is like there's been a lot of pretty good solar reports, but the stocks haven't acted well. They've been sold off after the numbers, so I guess my thinking is the risk to reward skewed a bit lower considering the recent action in the sector. Novavax, probably not a name for everybody. It's pricing $1.50. I'm not sure if I'll play it, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens. Um, it's just been so destroyed, and it really hasn't had any bounce. It's below $10 now, and it really doesn't look good. But it could be a mover, and I mean, if they do manage to say something decent, I mean, it gets above 10. There's plenty of room. Rivian, kind of interesting one as well. The 275 is what's priced in. Lucid had a pretty bad print this past week, which dragged Rivian down. But actually, last quarter was okay for Rivian, and the stock has really been crushed since then. So I feel like it's kind of an interesting setup. The risk reward appears skewed more to the upside on this one to me. Wednesday before the open, lots of retail reports. A&F pricing in 375. So they already guided in January, so I think I'm probably gonna leave this one alone, even though it does kind of look good to me. Dollar Tree's pricing in 11 and a half. This gets more interesting after Dollar General surprise warning this past week. Historically, it's been a pretty big mover around earnings, and now that peer Dollar General said the quarter was weak, probably should see another large swing. Sitting right above monthly support down here, which you can see, and is well off its February high, which was up in like the high 150s. So seems like there's some room either way. Coles, the price in 3. I don't think I'm going to be in this one. It definitely can. It definitely can move. It's moved a decent amount in the past. They didn't update holiday sales in January though. We did get guidance from Macy's and recently from Dillard's, so might not be a ton of uncertainty around that one. Lowe's, so pricing in 10. Home Depot reported this past week, got smacked. Lowe's doesn't always have the same numbers or react similar to Home Depot though, so it could still move. I think the problem with this that I'm looking at and I'm seeing is that the option pricing seems a bit elevated. So I'm not sure how much room it leaves for the straddle. And then also Neo before the open on Wednesday, pricing in about $1. We're going to get Chinese EV delivery numbers on Wednesday morning and Neo earnings, so it should be a pretty busy day for that little group. Instead of playing Neo, I feel like if I did anything, it might be with like XPEV because they don't report. And LI reported today before the open. Neo's Wednesday. XPEV doesn't have earnings, so if I did anything, it might be with XPEV, but I'm not sure I am going to do anything with it. Wednesday after the close, Okta. So a bunch of software reports. Okta is priced in about 9. Um, so Okta's pricing in 9. Salesforce is pricing in 12. Snowflake is pricing in 14 and a half, and Splunk is pricing in about 10 and a half. So you know, I mean, all of these names could be large movers. It it just I guess versus what's priced in by options, I feel like Snowflake might actually leave some room surprisingly, even though options are expensive. Okta, I feel like is one of the tighter charts. Still has that huge unfilled gap above, but I mean the option pricing's pretty elevated, and you do actually still have Zscaler reporting on Thursday, so there might be a sympathy play on CrowdStrike later in the week, which I might look at. Salesforce, I'll probably look at this more of like a post-earnings trade versus taking options into the print. But I mean, if it can stay in this upper range, it looks pretty good to me. Snowflake, what I was saying, has a history of volatility around earnings, and the stock, it's not too extended out of this quarter. So even at like 14 and a half points, I feel like the options may leave some room. And then Splunk, it's kind of like mixed recent history. I mean, it did move nicely last quarter, but I think it would probably be more of like a post-earnings focus, depending on what they say and where it opens. Before they open on Thursday, Best Buy, so about 625. It's one of a couple retailers reporting Thursday. You have this, Burlington, Macy's, Kroger. Um, I, I, Best Buy, the option pricing looks okay, but it's just been less consistent around earnings, so kind of like a toss-up. I guess we'll see how the week goes. Burlington is pricing in 20. Historically, it's pretty volatile. Didn't move much post TJX, so could have some room either way. But I mean, obviously, it's going to have to with options pricing in 20. It's going to be a pretty big move. Kind of on the fence with it. Macy's pricing in $2, but they already updated sales in January. And at this point, you'll have Kohl's having reported. Um, You'll have Kohl's and Dillard's having reported, so I don't know if it's going to be much of a mover. And then Kroger is going through the merger with Albertsons. So even though the stock is pretty tight, kind of interesting setup. I mean, had it not been going through a merger, I'd say it looks pretty good for like an earnings trade. But I usually assume that stocks going through mergers are less volatile around earnings. Thursday after the close, AI. So $3 was priced in. Should be entertaining. So much hype around AI. The company really needs. I feel like the company really needs to ride the AI the AI hype train right now while it's still going, right? Because recent earnings have not been great. So you can see if they maybe beat NVIDIA's 75 mentions of AI on their earnings call. I guess that's the benchmark. See if AI can top that because I mean, if recent earnings are any guide, the numbers probably aren't going to be great. But if they can sell a good story, maybe the stock can keep working. Zscaler pricing in about 15 and a half. It's another big cybersecurity report. I mean, Okta is going to report earlier in the week, so this could be up or down a bunch after that. So we'll have to see where it's trading by Thursday. Historically, it is a larger move around earnings though, and actually probably will set up like maybe like a bit of like a late week sympathy play on CrowdStrike. So I might look at that one too. Costco, we're posting in 18 and a half. Another big retail report. They give monthly comps and sales though, so it does tend to remove some of the volatility around earnings. Had a bit more muted of a response to the December print, but maybe because this quarter is the holiday quarter, and also to me like the chart looks a little bit better. Could be more of a mover. I'm still kind of on the fence with it, and we'll see how the week goes, see where it's trading, but probably as of right now, I'm thinking more of like a post-earnings focus. Nordstrom, so 225 is what's expected. It doesn't always move with Kohl's, Macy's, Dillard's, etc. So it could still have some action unless when earnings roll around. Plus, the stock has been pretty much straight down since Ryan Cohen's activist stake was announced. So it might get some more attention because of that. And then lastly on Thursday is Marvell, priced in 3.5. NVIDIA actually ended up moving well above what was priced in, but most semis this quarter did not. So I'm sticking to my rule with the Marvell. So I'm not going to be playing options on the chip names, but I'll definitely keep an eye on it the day after the results come out. And then Friday before the open, there's really nothing. So that's it. But I mean, you can see lots of big names, lots of big expected moves, and hoping for some good action. All right. So if you like this video, be sure to come check out the Alpha Team VTF. We go through a lot of these setups and updated pricing on the day of the earnings and the day after, depending on what the outcome is. So if you are interested in trading options into or around earnings, come stop by the Alpha Team room, all right? So I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you all soon.